To many, Graham Taylor is remembered for his unsuccessful spell in charge of the England international team. And what truly defined him is the incredible work with the backing of Elton John that he did at Watford. Before he took over, they were an unremarkable club, but under Graham Taylor's management, they underwent one of the greatest transformations in the history of English football. This is a story of Graham Taylor, the man who made Watford. Graham Taylor was born in Worksop, Nottinghamshire, on the 15th of September 1944. When he was 3, his family moved to Scunthorpe. He attended a grammar school and would start sixth form, but dropped out to pursue a footballing career. He was told by his head teacher that grammar school boys don't become footballers. His headmaster would soon be eating his words. Taylor began his professional footballing career as an apprentice at Scunthorpe, before joining Grimsby, where he would play nearly 200 games. He joined Lincoln City in 1968, but in 1972, he was forced into an early retirement due to a hip injury. This setback, though, proved to be a blessing in disguise, as it allowed him a head start at his managerial career. He took over as manager of Lincoln City, becoming the youngest manager in the league at the age of just 28. He would spend 5 seasons in charge of Lincoln, the penultimate of which saw him guide them to a 4th Division title, with the side 74 points, 32 wins, and 4 defeats, all being records. It was the start of something great, as the next year he took a job that would be his making. Watford had been taken over by legendary singer Elton John in 1976. A lifelong fan of the club, he declared his ambitions to take them to the top flight, with the Hornets in the 4th Division at the time. He invested large amounts of money into the club to stake his claim, and he decided to go for fresh blood in the dugout. Taylor had turned down an approach from 1st Division West Bromwich Albion in favour of the Watford job, and together he and the Rocket Man would make history. Taylor had been appointed by John on the recommendation of Don Revie, and it would be a shrewd appointment. When they first met, John told Taylor his ambitions of getting European football, and whilst Taylor was dismissive and said it would cost the singer £1 million, John was happy to sign the cheques. The partnership began in style, with a young Luther Blissett rising through the ranks, and Taylor would again break league records. His long ball football saw Watford get the most league wins in a season, most home and away wins, and they finished on 71 points, only 3 short of the record Taylor had set with Lincoln. Watford's ascent continued, with them finishing in 2nd place and sealing another promotion, only losing out on the title by a single point. John's ambitions were creeping closer towards reality. Taylor was keen to help Watford become a community club. At a time when many did not want to go to games due to rife hooliganism, Taylor would make sure his players visited the supporters at work and also engaged with local fans to get their views on the team. Whilst the 2nd Division proved a stronger challenge, Watford nonetheless held their own, staving off relegation and proving once again they were not there to make up the numbers. In the 81-82 season, they signed a young John Barnes, and the forward helped them reach new heights. Watford finished in 2nd place, and for the first ever time, they were a 1st Division club. 6 years on from a conversation about reaching the top flight, as it caused Graham Taylor to roll his eyes, Elton John's ambitions are realised. And how they were there, they wouldn't dare go breaking his heart. Despite the riches that came with the top flight, Taylor showed faith in the squad that he had, despite their inexperience at the top level. Taylor used this, though, to his advantage, turning the overconfidence of his opposition against them. Watford started off brilliantly in the top flight, winning 4 out of their first 5, and they were soon amongst the title race, something that surprised even Taylor himself. The young John and Luther had so much fun, and Watford did a league double over Arsenal, won away at Tottenham, and also defeated Everton and Liverpool at Vicarage Road. Perhaps the best moment of the season was an 8-0 victory over Sunderland. Watford finished the season in 2nd place, behind Bob Paisley's Liverpool. Luther Blissett finished as top scorer with 27 goals. They had defied the odds once again, and their 2nd place finish meant that they had qualified for the UEFA Cup, fulfilling another of Elton John's dreams. Watford had risen and risen, constantly being written off, but they were still standing. Watford's maiden campaign in Europe saw them knock out Kaiserslautern and Levski Spartak before being knocked out by Sparta Prague. They finished in 11th in the league, but reached another milestone. Watford got to the FA Cup final, where they would face Everton. As the Bide of Me played at Wembley, Elton John was reduced to tears. Taylor walked out onto Wembley turf, but the trophy would elude the Hornets. Nonetheless, Watford had a magical day that only one of their supporters could have dreamt of 8 years before. Taylor's first spell at Watford would last until 1987, a campaign in which he took them to 9th and the FA Cup semi-finals, but he decided to leave Vicarage Road in search of a new challenge and opted to head to the Black Country to take charge at Aston Villa. The Villains had suffered a fall from grace. Only 5 years after winning the European Cup and 6 years after winning the top flight, Villa were relegated to the second tier. However, Taylor performed his favourite party trick in the form of promotion. He kept them up on the final day and even challenged for a title in his third season, before again being pipped to the title by Liverpool. He had done well at Villa Park, but it was now time to take on an even bigger job. Bobby Robson left the England role after defeat to West Germany in the semi-finals of the 1990 World Cup, and Taylor would be appointed. Whilst his previous jobs had seen dreams realised, Taylor would now encounter a nightmare. He was questioned by areas of the media for the fact he had never won a major trophy and not played in top-flight football, but he did start off well, losing only once in his first 23 games, a 1-0 loss to world champions Germany. However, the negative press were difficult to deal with, and England scraped qualification for Euro 92. He used a total of 59 players in an attempt to find his best team and experienced 2 goalless draws in their first games at the tournament. A 2-1 loss to Sweden saw England crash out, with the headlines reading Swedes 2, Turnips 1, with the nickname Turnip Taylor being one the manager struggled to shake off. He was panned for his decision to take off Gary Lineker, with the score still level, but he would keep his job for the qualification for the 1994 World Cup. The qualification process was not entirely smooth. Strong wins against Turkey brought promise. Taylor showed his good nature by confronting a fan who was racially abusing John Barnes. A loss to Norway saw things go downhill, and an embarrassing performance in a friendly cup tournament saw things go from bad to worse. A vital qualification game against the Netherlands saw his fate virtually sealed, with Ronald Koeman bringing down David Platt when the Englishman was thrown goal, but he was not sent off. Minutes later, Koeman scored a free kick. The Dutch won 2-0, and Taylor berated the officials, who he sarcastically thanked for getting him the sack. There was a slim chance of qualification going into England's last game if the Dutch lost to Poland and England beat San Marino by 7 goals or more. However, 8 seconds in, computer salesman David Galtieri scored to put the part-timers in front. England would win 7-1, but the Dutch beat Poland, and England would play no part in the 1994 World Cup. Graham Taylor resigned soon after, and would be later subject to more ridicule when the documentary The Impossible Job showed behind the scenes during his tenure, and would later be the inspiration for Mike Bassett. He would go back to club management and took over at Wolves in 1994. He would, however, redeem himself by taking them to the Division 1 playoffs and FA Cup quarter-finals. His next season started poorly, and he was involved in a confrontation with a fan who spat on him, and he ended up resigning. With his name in tatters, there was only one place he could go: back home, down the yellow brick road. With Elton John taking over at Watford for a second time in 1996, he decided to get the band back together and appointed Graham Taylor as general manager. Taylor took over as first team manager soon after and began to get his mojo back by winning the Division 2 championship in 1998. Taylor once again led Watford to consecutive promotions, with a 2-0 victory over Bolton in the Division 1 playoff final. He would spend time in the hospital the next season due to respiratory issues, and sadly they were relegated after one season. After a 9th place finish in Division 1, he opted to retire, becoming the third manager to manage 1,000 English games. However, he did come out of retirement for a brief return to Aston Villa, but tensions with Doug Ellis saw him retire again, and it'll be his final job in the dugout. He had time in the boardroom with Scunthorpe, playing a part in them going from relegation candidates in League 2 to promotion to the Championship, and he later spent 3 years on the Watford board. He divided these duties with punditry work on BBC Radio 5 Live, and was granted the position of Honorary Life President at Watford. He would have a stand at Vicarage Road named in his honour in 2014. Graham Taylor passed away on the 12th of January 2017 of a heart attack at the age of 72, and his funeral in Watford saw many footballing figures attend. Elton John paid tribute to Taylor, describing him as like a brother, and he loved him dearly, describing his relationship with Taylor as one of his most cherished. Graham Taylor may never have got his hands on the major trophy, but he helped play a part in one of English football's greatest rises. He took a club confined to the bottom tier to a second-place finish in a top flight, an FA Cup final and European football, helping Elton John's incredibly ambitious dreams become a reality. He changed the fortunes of Watford forever, a club who have now had a great deal of experience in the top flight, and he's immortalised at Vicarage Road, the stand that bears his name, as well as a statue outside and a mural in his honour. Watford will be eternally grateful for how he changed them forever. It is a crying shame that to many he is defined by his England spell, as whilst a huge disappointment, it was a job too big for many, and he was not helped by the overwhelming negativity he had to face. Graham Taylor deserves to be remembered as a man who gave his life to football, helped bring joy to many, and allowed dreams to become reality. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video on the AFC Finners channel. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please have a look at the channel down below and check out the hundreds of videos available. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, you can do so in the link below for as little as £1 a month. Please let me know what you thought of this video and what topic you'd like me to cover next. See you next time.